Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Mr. Derobet. In this particular video, I'm going to put you guys through the process of how you can predict over 1.5 goals successfully. In betting, don't forget guys, I always tell you guys that you cannot always win your game, but we always try our best to make sure that we are making our winning to be more than our lost. But the most important part of it is that you always need to try and make sure that you are enjoying what you are doing. When it is no more fun, please kindly make sure that you stop. And that is the rule of responsible gambling. Now, without wasting much of our time, I'm going to make use of some match, and we are going to make use of that as an example in this particular video. As you guys can see in this particular video, you are seeing that most of the prediction here are just over 0.5, though some of them came out so well as over 1.5, but unfortunately some came out as over 0.5 as it is. Now, one thing I want you to know that is that you cannot always win bet, and you cannot always win the prediction, even though your requirements meet your analysis, like the analysis meets what you want to predict. So please take note of this, that whenever you want to stake with money that you can afford to dispose. Now let us move on to our analysis of predicting over 1.5 goals. So let me go for today's game. So now let us go on with our analysis. So I'm going to pick a particular game here, and we are going to do analysis on it. But fortunately and unfortunately, I don't know which one to use between the two. There's something that used to happen sometimes when you apply your analysis on a particular game, and the game did not meet the requirement of staking on it, and you just decided to skip the game. But maybe when the game later ended, like, you were saying that okay, you were later saying that okay, this particular game that I skipped, they actually played over 1.5. It happens in betting. In sports, things are dynamic, results are dynamic. So I want you guys to note that. Now let us pick a particular game here, and I will show you some games that you need to always avoid when you want to predict over 1.5. For example, now let us see this particular game. Okay, the first thing you need to look into is check the last 5 games. The last 5 games, in this particular last 5 games, check the last 2 games for both home and away. Okay, for the home team, we can see that they played over even over 2.5. For the home team, in the last 2 games, they played over 2.5 goals, and for the away team, in the last 2 games, they played over 2.5 goals in one match and over 1.5 goals in other match. Actually, if I want to predict over 1.5 goals, I always check these two attributes, the last 2 games and how they've played it. Now, this aspect actually qualified for predicting it as over 1.5. But let us check the last 2 games since they've been playing together with each other. If we look at it very well, you are going to see that the last game they ended up in 0-0, and the last two before the last one they ended up the match in 1-0. So this kind of games, I always try my best to avoid it, because it's like a sign of lost before even the game starts. And another thing that I always look into is that okay, for the percentage of this particular game coming out as over 1.5, it is actually possible, because if you check the last 2 games with other teams, they've been scoring goals, and they've been conceding at the same time. The home team have been conceding goal, the away team also have been conceding goal in the last few games. Now there's probability of this game ending up in over 1.5, but I will always advise you guys to always stick to one procedure of selecting your game. Now let us skip this particular game and move on to another one. Okay, I'll be making use of this particular game as an example. That is Verona versus Sassuolo. Now, don't forget, the first thing you need to check is the last 2 games for both home and away, and we can see that over 1.5 goals occurred in the last 2 games of these both teams. Now, we move on to their last previous games with each other, and when you see this, also you can see that both teams to score occurred, and they played over 1.5 so well. And if you look at their last 2 games also, both teams concede. They are conceding the last 2 games. So definitely for me, if I want to predict this particular game, I predict it as over 1.5 goals. It's a very simple step and very simple strategy. What you just need to do is that make sure that you avoid games that did not meet the procedure. For example, as what I've shown you in the games of in the start of Atletico Madrid and Real Betis, you can see that in the last previous games that they've been playing, they've not really been scoring goals. But in the last previous games they had with other teams, they were able to at least score goals and concede. That aspect can bring about the probability of the game ending up in over 1.5, but there is no much like that enough assurance that this game can end up in over 1.5 goals. Anything happens in betting, but at least you have to follow the right procedures at least to increase your chance of the outcome. Now let us check another game and let's see their stats. Okay, we have Empoli and Cagliari. Okay, so in this situation also we have over 1.5 occurring for both teams, and we can see that both teams in the last two games they conceded goal. Now let us move on to their last previous meeting. These are the types of games that I always try my best to avoid because anything's happen. If you check the last two games, in the last game they played 0-0, and the last two games they played 1-1. Games that, if you study their games very well, straight draws always occur. Check it very well. At least out of the last five games, one straight draw here, one straight draw here, and then another one here. So three straight draws out of the last five. And checking their last five games with other teams, you can experience straight draw here. Sorry, there's a particular straight draw here, straight draw, straight draw. And for the waiting also, in the last two games they've been playing straight draw. Anything is happens in this game, it can end up in 0-0 or even 1-0. So games that does not fully meet the requirement of your analysis, always avoid it. I'm avoiding this game, for example. It can take your time, but I want you guys to dedicate yourself to a to whatever strategy you are using. Now let us check the start of this particular game. Someone said this game can be a very tough game when it comes to predicting who to win the game. But actually, that's why sometimes I like predicting over 1.5 goals, like mixing them together. Now, checking the last two games of the home team, you can see that they played over 1.5, and for the away team also over 1.5. That is fantastic. And checking the last previous games, this is where the problem is. This is where the problem is. The last game, the match ended up in 1-0, whereby Bologna won by 1-0. Actually, there's a probability of this game coming out as over 1.5 goals, but I always want to avoid things that does not fully meet the requirement of my analysis. This particular game can end up in over 1.5 goals, like seriously, but I'm avoiding it. Let us check. So this can be the last example of how you can avoid and how you can go for predicting your over 1.5. Okay, looking at this game, Napoli, okay, last two games over 1.5 good, they conceded, and same thing as the away team also. Now let us check the last previous meeting. See these fantastic people. The last two games they played 1-0 under 1.5. So anything happens in betting, the game can end up in over 1.5, but I want you guys to stick to a particular steps and procedure. I believe you guys understand this particular steps and procedure of predicting over 1.5 so far, so that I won't waste your time or take a lot of your time. An example of how you can predict your over 1.5 games successfully is the game of this particular Hellas Verona and Sassuolo. So thanks for watching, guys. See you guys in the next video content. If you're having any question concerning this particular strategy, make sure that you drop it in the comment section of this particular video. Thanks. See you guys in the next video. Bye.